Hey, hope you're having a good Tuesday. Thank you for joining me for today's 5 for 5. All this week we are talking about serving others. Today I wanted to share with you an example that Jesus gives himself. In John chapter 13, there at the passage where we read about the Lord's Supper, and we read about how Jesus would institute the Passover meal as the Lord's Supper for his disciples. In this passage, we also see that he gave them a great example of service from one who was their master. Jesus, their master, their teacher, he got down on his hands and knees and wiped off the dust and the dirt and the grime from their feet. He did the job of a servant. And then he would tell them that this was done as an illustration for them to follow, something that they should see, that they should emulate in their lives for each other. It says in verse 12, when he had washed their feet and taken his garments and he reclined at the table again, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, the Lord and the teacher, washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you should also do as I did to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a slave is not greater than his master, nor is one who is sent greater than the one who sent him." Jesus was saying to his disciples that there was truly no job that was beyond anything that anyone should do for his kingdom, that none of them should see themselves as greater than any job that he would have them go and do. You know, here in the church, in your neighborhood, in your community, in your workplace, there are so many opportunities to serve other people. But it often takes the intentionality to say, you know, that job is not beneath me, or even if it might be, I'm willing to do that job because it serves someone else. To show the love of Christ in a practical way through our service will often require us to do things that we're not always comfortable with, or do things that maybe take us outside of our comfort zone. Maybe it requires us to do things that we feel like are below our pay grade, or maybe beyond what we think is our ultimate responsibility or our calling even. Jesus calls us to be willing to submit ourselves to him and to serve others, even if it cost us, even if it cost us our pride or cost us the opportunity to stay at a position of authority. We're called to serve other people. Jesus gave that picture of what it looks like to serve. Here in this fellowship hall, we come together. We like to have meals together. This past week, we had a hot dog meal before our everyday missionary gathering. You know, in a few weeks, we're going to have our men's breakfast coming up. We're going to have a men's Bible study in here on Tuesday morning this week. And we'll have biscuits and we'll have some food and snacks as we get together and study the Word together and go into our reading together. You know, this room is used for a lot of food events. But it takes people serving behind the scenes, often in the kitchen back there, getting the meal prepared, getting the meal together, and often doing the hard work of cleaning up after the meal is over, of taking the towel and cleaning the dishes and wiping the tables and cleaning up the space. It takes people who are willing to serve behind the scenes to make the meal happen. There's a lot of things in church that don't happen without people serving behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that are not accomplished in our communities or in our homes or in our workplaces if we don't step up and serve others the way that God calls us to do it. That no matter what the job is that God has given us, whether it's teaching, preaching, whether it's working at a door here on property as a greeter, singing in the choir, running the soundboard, watching children or preschoolers, cleaning the floors, wiping the tables, whatever the job is, it's ultimately being obedient as a servant of God, following him, being willing to pick up the towel and do what God calls us to do, no matter where he leads us to do it, whether it's washing the dishes or bringing the message. God calls us to serve him faithfully, obediently, and wherever he calls us to go. Let's look at Jesus' example and remember how he served. No job was beneath him. He was willing to serve those who God had given him to lead. And in our lives, no matter what place we find ourselves in, we can look for people around us who God wants us to serve and show his love in practical ways. I hope you have a great day. Tune in with us all this week as we talk about serving others and how we accomplish the mission of Jesus Christ through those actions of service in obedience to him.